I think that Chiefs owner Clark Hunt may have went to the school of Donald Trump's weave, or it was Quentin Lucas's school of trying to say a lot of words while giving absolutely zero information to reporters. But here's the thing. There was still something to read between the lines after Chiefs owner Clark Hunt talked to the media yesterday. And, of course, a big part of the press conference was about the future of Arrowhead Stadium and where this team is going to end up playing. It's great to be here this morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So let's start with Clark Hunt and something that he said yesterday on the timeline for his franchise to decide whether or not they want to stay at Arrowhead Stadium or move to the Kansas side of the state line, knowing full well that the Star Bond offer was extended till the end of the year to go to Kansas, but that it will not be extended, according to the legislature, beyond December 31st, which means you probably have to tell the state of Kansas by, I would say, October, because they have to then review what the Chiefs want to do. They need a couple of months to do that. So we're up against it. We probably have 2.5, 3 months maybe to the unofficial deadline. And here's what Clark Hunt had to say in Cut 1.
Yeah, I know Mark Donovan spoke to you all a week ago and shared that we've made a lot of progress, and that's absolutely true, and that progress is on both sides of the state line. We're grateful to have two really good options. I don't want to get into how close we are to making a decision, because I found over time with stadium situations that until they're done, they're not done. There's a lot of work, a lot of moving parts, and we're working through those. Certainly, I would say we feel an urgency to bringing the process to a conclusion, but that doesn't mean I can will it to happen in any specified period of time.
Did you pick up on what I picked up on there? Clark Hunt leaned into a word there. We feel the urgency. To me, that was a bit of a shot at the Kansas City Royals. We feel an urgency. Implying, I'm not sure if those guys across the parking lot feel an urgency. You know, they've been dragging their feet for more or less 2.5 years on this whole thing. They don't know what they want to do. We feel an urgency. We've got two options. We're progressing with both options on both sides of the state line, and we feel urgency on making this decision. Here's the thing, though. The frustration that I sense there is that Clark Hunt is trying to figure out how exactly he can decide what he wants to do and whether or not that decision needs to happen in conjunction with the Royals announcing whatever it is they want to do. Now, we know the Royals are done also with the Star Bond deal by the end of the year, which really is like a mid to late October deadline, as I just noted. That's what we've heard from some of the folks in Kansas. They've said they'll offer the Star Bond deal in Kansas until the end of the year, but if you want to take up the state of Kansas on the Star Bond offer, you have to submit a proposal, and that proposal then has to be reviewed. You can't submit the proposal on December 30th and be like, all right, we'll take a decision by tomorrow at midnight. That's not how any of this works. So I got the sense there that Clark Hunt was saying, we are not going to be the party that holds this up any longer. He wasn't saying that someone else may not try to hold this thing up a little bit longer, but it won't be his franchise. I also think that these teams are trying to figure out how to make their announcements in conjunction with each other. Because if the Chiefs say, hey, we're staying at Arrowhead, and then it's like, okay, what about the Royals? And the Royals are like, well, we don't know yet. We're still deciding. I think they realize they're better off doing something at a similar time that just makes this easy for everybody involved. So that was my read between the lines moment there of what Clark Hunt had to say. The other thing that stood out to me about Clark Hunt's comments is when he talked about what he could do, if anything, around Arrowhead Stadium in Cut 6.
Yeah, so at Arrowhead, the majority of the work will be inside the stadium. That's the feedback we've received from the fans. In addition to making sure that the tailgating experience is at least what it is today, if not better. And I do think there'll be some opportunities to enhance the tailgating experience if we stay at the Truman Sports Complex. In Kansas, depending on where we end up, there may be a development opportunity around the stadium. We just don't really feel that, outside the perimeter of the Truman Sports Complex, that's really a ripe area for development.
All right, so that's Clark Hunt saying what we already knew about Arrowhead. There's only so much you're going to do with the Truman Sports Complex. Those renderings that we saw from prior to the 2024 April vote of like that little, I don't know what you want to call it, hangout tailgate area that would be basically where the K is right now, that's probably something similar to what you're looking at. I don't think you're looking at some grandiose development of hotels and restaurants and things like that. I mean, he's right. Let's be honest. No one wants to go to the Truman Sports Complex or really anything around it unless you're going to a game. They're not going to build a casino that's going to be this place that all of Kansas City is dying to go to on non-game days. It's just not going to happen. It's not a desirable location. Even Mark, our in-house degenerate gambler, Mark, are you going to rush to an Arrowhead Stadium gambling site casino in the middle of March when there's nothing going on over there? I don't think you're going to do it.
No, I'll probably stay closer to home.
Yeah, well, now you can bet in your underwear too. So,
exactly.
It is very difficult to get people off the couch to a casino with sports betting now on your phones. I mean, that's part of this changing landscape that we have when it comes to sports betting that I think Vegas is starting to feel some of the pinch on. And then when he talked about Kansas, Clark Hunt said something there that stood out. There may be development opportunities. Now, maybe he's playing it close to the vest. Maybe he's just not wanting to show all his cards right now. But he didn't sit there and say part of the allure of Kansas is the development opportunities around the stadium. And I thought he would say that because that seems like an obvious thing to say to me. Like, part of the reason you would leave Arrowhead if you were going to do that is because you saw business opportunities on the Kansas side when it comes to development outside of a stadium. But maybe that comes with a price tag that's just going to be too rich for their blood. I don't know. That's the only conclusion I could come to because, to me, a big part of the reason the Royals are leaving is obviously because they say they've got to make money in other ways. They have to be able to generate revenues off of business development. Now, I know it's a different sport. Baseball doesn't have the salary cap. The NFL does have the salary cap. It's not a level playing field in baseball. You've got owners that are much wealthier than some teams, and we understand how that works in baseball. So you have to figure out how to make money in different ways if you're a smaller market. In the NFL, it doesn't really matter. But it didn't sound to me like Clark Hunt was a guy who was dying to get into the business, retail, commercial, real estate side of this entire conversation, either because he didn't want to show his hand or because he doesn't really need to. The NFL business model doesn't require it, so why go down that road? That's the other thing that maybe we haven't given enough thought to. So then it's really, truly just about building in Kansas a state-of-the-art domed facility where you can utilize that facility for as many events and big games as possible. And it's not going to be about any of the ancillary restaurants, rental units, commercial properties, bars. It's not going to be about any of that. It's truly going to be about one building and one arena and trying to maximize its capacity at every opportunity. So that was something that stood out to me as well from Clark Hunt. I don't think you can get a read from what he said yesterday, and I watched the entire press conference on which way he's leaning, and I think there was a reason for that. But I still would say, if I was a betting man right now, it's 65-35 staying at Arrowhead versus going to Kansas. 913-408-7957 as we get it rolling on a Tuesday morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Pete Mundo. It is great to be back with you. Coming up next, The media coverage of yesterday's biggest national story was another case in point on why you can't trust these people as far as you could throw them. I'll give you the example coming up next on KCMO. I know you didn't read and need another reason to distrust most of your national media outlets, but I got another one for you because why the heck not? At 6:20 on a Tuesday, it's great to be here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So we are following this tragic story, and national news has obviously been all over the story in New York City, where you had a gunman named Shane Tamura open fire at a Park Avenue skyscraper, which happens to be the home of the NFL headquarters. And now there's a note that has been found on the gunman that suggests a possible motive that I'll talk about here in a minute. But first things first, I want to play an audio clip from CNN last night. And if you missed this, if you didn't see the story here, the shooter, in the photos that were immediately released after this terrorist attack happens yesterday on the streets of New York City, it's very obvious and evident what this person's background is. Yet CNN decided to take this a totally different route when they discuss what this suspect looks like. Take a listen.
All right. So, Brian, stay with us. The former deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, is with us as well. And Andy, I just want to ask you talk about a 44-story building, as Brian is reporting. And what John Miller just said, there were a few things that really stood out there. Among them that they do know what he looks like. Sunglasses, mustache, male, possibly white. And that they were already able to identify.
But possibly white? Hold on a second here. First off, the second the guy's photos came out, you could tell based on his features and his hairstyle, he wasn't white. Okay, do you see what I'm saying here about the hair in particular? Speaking as a white guy, I've never seen a white guy that has that kind of hair. My brother-in-law, who I'm visiting with this week, his hair can be a little nappy sometimes, but that's the most I've seen for a white guy. It's very evident that this guy is not a white guy. Now, I don't care what he is. If he was a white guy, then call him a white guy. But it's pretty obvious out of the gates that he's not a white guy. But then to describe him as possibly white. You think that CNN would ever describe somebody as possibly black? As possibly Middle Eastern? Goodness gracious, no. They wouldn't do that. They would never use that phrase with any race other than white, and they certainly wouldn't jump to a possibly conclusion with any other race other than white. And I'm sitting here and I'm pulling out my hair, which doesn't look like this guy's hair because, it just isn't possible for it to look like this guy's hair. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I'm not offended by it as a white guy. I'm offended by it as someone who is just looking for the news, as someone who's just looking for the facts and the information. And it became very evident after CNN made that statement that the possibly white thing was completely off base and entirely inaccurate. But it was CNN. It's the same people who use the phrase Maryland dad for weeks on end for a guy who was an alleged human trafficker here illegally. It's the same outlet that said Donald Trump fell on stage after he nearly lost his life just over 1 year ago. The same media outlet that called Joe Biden sharp as a tack until it was too obvious in June of 2024 that he wasn't. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised that same outlet would sit there and say that this tragedy yesterday on the streets of New York City was committed by a guy who was possibly white, because he obviously wasn't. So now what do we know about this Shane Tamura? Well, we have a possible motive, and it looks like it may have been driven by football and the NFL. So Tamura, who killed himself, had a note on him, and he blamed football for his apparent struggle with CTE. That's, of course, the brain disease that's becoming a major issue for a lot of former, and has been a major issue for decades now, for a lot of former football players. Tamura asked that his brain, in this letter that he had on him after he fatally shot himself in the chest, he asked that his brain be studied in this note, according to sources. This is from the New York Post. The NFL has offices on floors 5 through 8 of the Park Avenue high-rise. And Tamura, who has a reported documented history of mental health issues, also found himself in a situation where he obviously shot an NFL employee, which now has been reported for the better part of 12 hours, in the lobby of this building. He was a security guard at a Las Vegas casino. He did have a standout high school football career in California, graduated from Golden Valley High School in 2016, and was expected to potentially go on to play at higher levels. That obviously did not end up happening. Why? That's not clear yet. But it looks like his target was the NFL, as he wanted to blame CTE. And that's why I think this story is going to be buried very quickly. The media doesn't want any part of this because nothing about this story fits their narrative. And you know the NFL is going to flex its muscles to make sure that this is killed by a lot of mainstream media outlets, especially their TV partners, right? Think about it. The NFL is in bed with ABC through ESPN. They're in bed with Fox, obviously, through Fox Sports, NBC, Amazon. I mean, they've got partners basically at every level of media. The NFL wants no part of this weeks before their season begins, that a guy who opens up fire, kills multiple people, including a cop on the streets of New York City, was motivated by his CTE and the NFL. Now, they shouldn't be afraid of it because the guy's a lunatic, right? But still, this is not the kind of media coverage the NFL wants. And let's be honest, the NFL largely gets what it wants when it comes to media coverage. Like it or not, that's been a fact for a long time. Coming up after the news on KCMO Talk Radio, we have the 6 at 6. And are you tired of political text messaging? I may have some good news for you next. Screw them. I've got no sympathy for people who are looking to send you political text messages all day, every day, months, weeks, and days leading up to an election. But there is a lot of crying going on from one group in particular. That would be the NRSC, the National Republican Senatorial Committee. This is a group that's in charge of obviously electing Republicans to the U.S. Senate. And some news broke yesterday that Apple's iOS 26 update will likely impact how you receive political text messages, which I'm totally fine with. I actually embrace this. And if it hurts Republicans, so be it. They did this to themselves. I have zero sympathy. I am so sick of getting unsolicited political text messages too many times a day from organizations that I never gave my phone number to. They brought this on themselves, and good for Apple. So the story here is that the Apple iOS 26 update will include basically a spam filter, where if you get text messages, and I've been getting more of these. I mean, I got a couple the other day. I should have kept them. I actually got like 2 yesterday. I couldn't tell what was going on or who this was from. But I deleted the message because every time I get one of these, I just swipe left and delete it. But more and more, I don't know about you. You can tell me at 913-408-7957. But more and more, I'm just getting crap text messages from clearly spam numbers. So what Apple is going to do here in their next iOS update is they're basically going to send political texts, even from verified and compliant senders, to basically unknown inboxes on your phone where you won't get an alert or a notification. It will be treated as spam by default, and it will be silently sent to some unknown inbox on your phone that I imagine you'll have to go out of your way to find, kind of like your spam inbox on your email. That change will have a profound implication, says the NRSC, on their ability to fundraise, mobilize voters, and run digital campaigns. So they claim, the NRSC claims that they could see a $25 million revenue hit They claim that 70% of small dollar donations come via text, and iPhones make up 60% of U.S. mobile devices. That macro effect could be over $500 million in lost GOP revenue. I mean, I get this stuff all the time, even from Trump's people, and I don't know if it's Trump or it's some super PAC or whatever it is, but I get these texts all the time. Donate $5 and we're giving you 10x match right now. It's like, just leave me alone. If I want to donate to you guys, please don't text message me. Please don't do that. So the Republicans who are complaining about this, I just have zero sympathy because I'm sick of my text message inbox being flooded with garbage. Emails, I get it. We got to give everyone and their mother our email. My inbox stinks. I hate having to go through my inbox on my personal email, but we all have to do it to try to just clear it out once in a while. If I keep my inbox, I don't know if you guys have a number, but if my email inbox is under 1,000, I'm happy. That's my goal. Right now, if I go to my Gmail, I'm at 1,461. So I've got some clearing out to do here, but I've taken some time off lately, so I have not done a great job keeping up with it the last couple of weeks, I would say. But my goal on my Gmail is to keep it under 1,000. But my text messages, I mean, that's the one place where I feel like, you got to kind of know me to have my number. You got to kind of, and I don't mind. I mean, there's plenty of people that reach out to me that are like, hope I'm not bothering you. It's like, no, if I know you, please message me all day. That's totally fine. You text me, it's all good. But that's kind of, it's just kind of a barrier that I don't want to be getting this junk from political outlets or all this other spam that's now coming to me via text message, and it seems like it's getting more and more frequent. 913-408-7957 on the text line. Pete, what's worse, political texts or KDOT overdue fine scam text messages? That is a great question. The KDOT thing, Kansas Department of Transportation, I haven't gotten one of those in a while. I was getting them a lot. I haven't gotten one in probably a few weeks. But I would say the political text messages, because I'm somehow on a list in Nevada. I don't know how this happened, but I get all these text messages about Senate and House updates in Nevada. It makes no sense to me. I've never lived in Nevada. I've been to Vegas once. It was 10 years ago for a bachelor party. I probably can't remember most of it, but I don't know why I'm getting these messages. 913-408-7957. Pierce is on KCMO, and he has the iOS 26 update. Pierce, what do you got for me, my man?
All right, Pete, here it goes. So I guess on the traditional, I think it's iOS 18 right now, in the upper right corner, it'll have the button to compose a message. Well, that button has been replaced by kind of like a hamburger menu, and when you click on it, it'll have a few different sections that say messages, spam, recently deleted, unread, and you can also manage different filters how you want it on there. Not all of the spam messages are yet getting put in the spam folder, but I guess it's just because it's still in testing right now. But it's iOS 26 is definitely a big update, and it gives you a lot more privacy, I think. I haven't personally been receiving a lot of spam messages lately, and checking my spam folder right now, there's actually 10 different emails in there. One's for the KDOT thing. There's one for an Alexa thing. There's a bunch of different things on there. But I don't think it'll be too hard, though.
So how did you get 26 when I'm on, I think it says here, I'm on iOS 18.5?
So if you go on Apple's website, or even if you just search it on Google, you can sign up to be a beta. And right now I have the iOS 26 beta. It's on version 3 now, so it's going through all the different updates. There's a lot of cool updates and some that are pretty iffy. I know a lot of people were mad about the photo section. It seems like they cleaned that up a little bit. The camera, they kind of oversimplified it and made it a little bit harder to find the settings to change your focus and this, that, and the other. But there's a lot of cool features and a lot of different privacy features on here now.
Well, that's great. Pierce, thank you for that. I'm glad you called in and you've got the beta testing of iOS 26. That's super helpful. I'm not going to be signing up for it because it's just I don't care enough, to be honest. But I'm glad that you're doing it, and I appreciate you sharing that here on KCMO because that's interesting. So when you go to type out a message, you'll basically get a menu option where you can see your spam, and that's where all these political text messages would be. Great, that's where they should be. They are spam. I'm sorry if this hurts Republican U.S. Senate candidates, but I really don't care. You somehow got into my text messages, and I am frankly over it. Victor's in Parkville on KCMO. Go ahead, Vic.
Good morning, Pete. You know what? The reason you're probably getting stuff from Nevada is the same reason I'm getting stuff from Kentucky. Some years ago, I actually did a little research on some candidate down there, and now every frickin' election cycle I'm getting a fundraiser from them. But the fact is the KDOT scam is pretty much the same as the political scam. The NRC sucks at getting solid Republicans elected. Anybody who gives to the NRC or probably even only the MRC, you're a fool. If you like a candidate, give directly to the candidate. Because if you're giving your money to one of these mega corporations or mega fundraisers or whatever you want to call them, they're going to pick and choose who they think you want, or at least who they want to have elected. If you like somebody, give directly to the candidate. That's the only way your money is going to be used properly in the election.
That's a great point, Victor. I'm glad you brought it up. You're right. If you really want to see Republicans win in certain races, then have them go all over the country and give to the campaigns. I'm sure that Victor in Parkville was checking in on his buddy Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, but I will not let him confirm or deny that. We'll have to do that another time. Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it. 913-408-7957. So that's going to be coming if you have the iPhone, and I'm all in on it. I am just 100% all in, and Victor put a perfect bow on the conversation by noting, you know what, these major organizations, these big funds, the NRSC is one example. You know what? A lot of people get very rich off of those organizations, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and it's very difficult to get a read on who's actually any good at their job. But the lobbyists and the PAC folks and the campaign people, they all make out like bandits no matter what. What is Josh Hawley doing? My gosh. He is just doubling down on some totally garbage ideas. 7:05, good morning. It's great to have you here on KCMO. I'm. It's like anything else, right? When a kid screws up, you're like, what's the kid doing? When your kid screws up, you're more annoyed than when it's somebody else's kid. And that's kind of how I feel about Josh Hawley. Not that he's my kid, but listen, he's a guy who obviously is a friend of the show. I like him. We have very similar values. We've spent time together, not just in professional settings, but personal settings. And I like a lot of what he does and a lot of what he says. So when he does something like this, I'm more frustrated than when it comes out of the mouth of like Bernie Sanders or AOC or somebody that I disagree with 9 times out of 10. When it's somebody I agree with 9 times out of 10, it's more frustrating to me. So this all started last Friday when the President of the United States made an off-the-cuff comment about potentially sending rebate checks to American workers because the tariff revenue has exceeded expectations thus far. Here's what President Trump said last week that led to Josh Hawley's announcement and decision yesterday.
That revenue coming in tens and tens of billions of dollars. Do you think there's the possibility of a rebate to the American public in terms of all of that money?
We're thinking about that, actually. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good question. You just made a lot of news. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
All right, so that was Trump just, I think, doing his Trump thing. Off the cuff, yeah, rebate checks, sure, why not? We'll look into it, right? I think that was just Trump kind of riffing there.
It does.
You agree, John?
Yeah, like the mini French fries, pizzas, hamburgers. He tries to be so descriptive. Got so much money coming in. We're giving it away. Come on
exactly.
down. Free
Hey,
puppies.
everybody's in.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like, come on. There's nothing there that Trump said that wasn't just the usual Trump shtick. Hey, great idea. We'll give people some money because, well, tariffs are exceeding expectations. So then Josh Hawley yesterday introduces legislation to provide tariff rebate checks of at least $600 per adult and child to American families, similar to the stimulus checks the government distributed during the COVID pandemic. Okay. Did we not learn our lesson during the pandemic when Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders and many others, and actually it was Hawley who championed stimulus checks with Bernie Sanders back in 2020, did we not learn our lesson that stimulus checks and literally just handing out checks and printing money is not good for America, and it's definitely not good for the middle-class worker because it spikes inflation. We saw 40-year highs on inflation, and the top 1%, they're not the ones getting hurt. They're invested heavily in the markets. They can beat inflation, mostly, by and large. And you know what? If the price of eggs goes from $5 to $7, they're going to be okay. The working poor, the middle class, they feel that pinch more than anybody. And you would think that Josh Hawley, who likes to be the voice of the worker, would understand that. You'd think that he would be a guy who wants to champion working class values, would not champion direct payments from the government when we literally have a historical example from 5 years ago on what an abject failure it was for the American people. Stop trying to buy votes with government checks. I mean, what are we doing here? So Hawley introduced a bill yesterday. He put out a tweet or a post on X over the weekend saying, this is a great idea. Let's do this. Yesterday, Hawley actually goes out there and introduces legislation to provide these tariff rebate checks. And his statement read, like President Trump proposed, my legislation would allow hardworking Americans to benefit from the wealth that Trump's tariffs are returning to this country. Well, first off, the president didn't propose anything. Donald Trump made an off-the-cuff comment at not even a press conference, a press gaggle on Friday on the White House lawn. That's not a proposal. That's just like telling a reporter, hey, sounds like a great idea. Like that, I don't call that a proposal. But here's the thing. In the end, tariffs are a tax. Someone is paying that tax. For now, it seems like the businesses are taking the hit. The corporations are taking the hit. Will that happen forever? That remains to be seen. But if the cost or some of the cost of the tariffs eventually get passed on to the American consumer, and then basically we're getting our own money back theoretically on a tax that we're paying from a tariff, I mean, this is just classic big government nonsense and BS. That's what this is. Hey, don't worry, we might tax you a little bit, but we'll kick some of it back your way. And after we kick it back your way, that may end up skyrocketing and pushing inflation to levels that are unsustainable. But don't worry, you got that one-time $600 check, so please feel good about yourself, all right? And vote for us while you're at it. This is just bad policy. And I don't think it's going anywhere. Like, the Senate's not going to take this up. Josh Hawley just filed a bill. Anyone can file a bill in the Senate or the House. Doesn't mean it goes anywhere. It's like Josh Hawley filed a bill to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Remember that 6-7 weeks ago? He filed that bill. He gave CBS the exclusive. And as far as I can tell, it went nowhere. So same thing here. This is going absolutely nowhere. But it's just frustrating because, like I said earlier, you're more frustrated when one of your children screw up. When it's someone you like that screws up or makes a mistake, you're like, "Come on, man! You're one of the good guys. What are you doing here?" I'm not buying this from the Las Vegas Raiders. No way, no how. Am I gonna defend them? I will defend the dude who apparently kissed another dude on the head. That's what I'm going to do here. It is 7:51. It's great to have you on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So, Christian Wilkins, big star defensive tackle for the Las Vegas Raiders, signed a huge contract last year. Well, he was released by the Raiders last week, and there have been a lot of rumors as to why he was released. Well, according to one of the NFL's top insiders, Adam Schefter, this is part of what that release came down to. Here is what he said on the Pat McAfee show.
Inside the locker room, they say that Christian playfully went to kiss a teammate on top of his head, and those same people said that that player took offense to it. So that's what everybody's been dancing around and tap dancing around, an incident in the locker room where he allegedly playfully kissed a teammate on top of his head. That teammate felt offended by it. And that's what a lot of this talk and speculation that people have just been floating around out there is about.
Oh, come on. Come on. You've got to be kidding me. So Christian Wilkins apparently got released, and the Raiders voided the remaining $35 million guaranteed on his contract after he signed a 4-year, $110 million deal last year because he kissed a teammate on the head. I understand you might be like, hey, you don't do that to another guy. No. I'm not defending the Raiders on this one. I will defend Christian Wilkins, okay, who has asked the NFL Players Association to file a grievance on his behalf. I think the Raiders wanted out. They've got a new head coach in Pete Carroll. For whatever reason, they didn't like Christian Wilkins. That's their prerogative. But this was a way for them to get out of $35 million guaranteed that they owed him. And they can say, well, this player was uncomfortable when Christian Wilkins playfully kissed him on the head. Now, I don't know why he's playfully kissing a teammate on the head. I admit that's kind of weird. It's a little strange. But you know what? The guy that got kissed on the head, who's filing a complaint about it, I mean, he's the one who looks even worse in all this. You're the guy who just, got playfully kissed on the head by a teammate without having any of the background here as to what led to it. This still feels like a massive overreaction. And this sounds like a very easy way for the Raiders to try to get out of paying this guy $35 million, John. That's what I think this is really about. So I am not going to defend the Las Vegas Raiders, who I think are trying to find an easy way to get out of $35 million guaranteed on this guy.
Oh, I love the imagery as a Chiefs fan. We're talking about the softest locker room squabble I've ever heard of here at the moment on the legendary The Raiders.
Yes.
Big bad Raiders.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah, the big bad tough Raiders.
Yeah,
Good
stuff,
God, please.
I played football in high school. You handle it in the locker room. It doesn't even make the news. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I agree. That's why I think what this is really about is about the team trying to figure out a way to get out of this $35 million they owe the guy. And they can claim he made players uncomfortable in the locker room by kissing him on the head. On the text line, Pete, he's a crotch grabber. Check out the videos. I have seen the videos from his time at Clemson where he would, in the middle of a pileup, maybe knock a player in the crotch. But that's been going on for decades in football. That goes on at the high school football level. Guy takes a cheap shot at the bottom of the pile. I'm not saying you did that back in your high school football heyday, John, but, that stuff's been going on for decades at every level of football.
Ref, number 97's making me feel uncomfortable. Right? Come on.
Sack up, buddy, literally and figuratively. Come on now.
And a kid, I was a sophomore year, 75. His hair's hanging out his helmet. He played for a different school. Hey, he pulled my helmet when he pulled my hair when he tackled me, and the ref just said, "Get it cut." Yeah, literally. Yeah, get it cut. Son.
Yes. I mean, that happens in every sport. Now, I know you're going to, for those of you who have met me and looked at me, you're going to be shocked to know I didn't play football. I'm 6 foot, but I'm 185 pounds soaking wet. So for me, as a track runner back in the day, and even more so in cross country, you'd get in those backwoods and guys would be knocking each other in the crotch. I mean, that would happen once in a while because you were trying to get an advantage, and guess what? Nobody was looking. So this is not unique to football. I don't really care that he has video out there of Christian Wilkins grabbing another dude's crotch at the bottom of a pileup when he was at Clemson. That's irrelevant to me. I think the Raiders are cheap. I think that they're trying to figure out a way out of this $35 million. And now, what I really want to know is who is the player who got kissed on the head who filed the complaint? Because that's the guy I'd be cutting here in all this. I mean, dude, have you been in a locker room before? Get over yourself and handle it like guys. Boys will be boys between other dudes. That is just, what an embarrassment. But this is all so typical Raiders. You can change the coach. You can change the players. In the end, they're still, you can change the city. In the end, they're still the same old crappy Raiders, John.
No, absolutely. I'm with you, sir. Preaching to the choir.
Oh, gosh. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO. We've got Tirade Tuesday coming up next hour at 8:30. Get those tirades all warmed up. Coming up, though, too, tomorrow, just mark your calendar tomorrow, all right? At 8 o'clock, we're going to do an Ask Mark Anything after his stand-in gig with the Ted Lasso show last week. We had Mark a lot on the show last week talking about his updates there, filming Ted Lasso. But you all had a lot of really good questions that you would reach out to me, text me about, and whatnot. So I'm going to let you, on the line tomorrow, ask Mark all the questions you want about his Ted Lasso filming.